Alright, good afternoon, and welcome back to our Path of Fire playthrough as we continue to play through the entire Guild Wars 2 personal story here on Three Swords Gaming. So, where we last left off, we had discovered more of the history behind Vlast and Arene and what's intended for them and what Glint's role was in regards to the Elder Dragons. And we've learned that essentially, within the cycle of the dragons and the flow of magic, in order to properly eliminate or at least mitigate the elder dragons, some sort of replacement needs to be found. So in theory, that's what the Forgotten were trying to do with Glint and the Scions of Glint, because their efforts to alter the elder dragons themselves had proven to be failures. So as we learned all that, we also learned that Balthazar was in fact hunting Arene, and so we got in touch with some comrades of ours, the other folks within our little guild, and said, hey, meet up with us because we have a problem. Arene may be, a target of Balthazar. So that's where we are at right now. Let's head right over here and begin the next chapter. This one's going to be a long one, and what we're going to try and do today is get as much of Pathfire knocked out as we can, because I'm in store for a busy week. So if we can, generate... Oh, I'm like pinned behind this thing here. So if we can do several videos that I can kind of lean on for the rest of the week, that'll free me up to do work things with my new job. So we may actually finish Path of Fire today, but these are some long instances. And this one in particular can be long if you pay attention to all the lore things and if we talk about all the lore things, which presumably we will. So, alright, let's link up with our friends here. Oh, not our friends.
Expecting someone else?
I was actually expecting someone else. Thank you for noting that. Have my friends abandoned me? Probably. They probably should, all things considered, but... So this fight's going to take us a minute or two. And there's not a lot to talk about while we... Oh, failed on that.
Never defy a god.
This fight really isn't that complex, all things considered. Doesn't mean I will do a good job of it. Ah, ha, ha. So, magic moves that cannot be dealt with. And he gets us back up. That's what happened there. Balthazar allowed us to get back up.
They'll have to hit much harder.
Now, it does get progressively more claustrophobic as the fight continues. The way this fight was designed was intentional. There's some things that they very much were trying to do, and I think they very much succeeded at. And one of them was to create a feeling of like increasing futility. So even though presumably we're doing like an acceptable job here, I'm not the world's best Guild Wars 2 player, but I'm not terrible either. And we're doing okay right now. However, there definitely could be a feeling that it's all for naught. Our progress, seems to be, while very real, potentially pointless. I mean, uh, we're doing a good job, and yet, where is it getting us? That is the whoa. And again with that, right? So that more than anything else is what's going to give us that feeling of futility, and his dialogue supports it. We also have an effect here. As the fight continues, our movement speed is drastically decreased. So our ability to continue to manage mechanics that are otherwise pretty easy gets progressively more difficult. I don't want to kill you, we say.
You won't. How sad for you to die so far from home. Ah, the Scion. Come here to defend a champion.
Maureen, no!
And now, you die.
Where am I? Who am I? I need to be somewhere else.
All right. So we're going to, in this instance, play with a couple things that honestly I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of killing the hero and then bringing the hero back, which obviously we have to do, right? Because the player character's been killed. Commander here has been killed. We are dead. Well, obviously the game continues. So, it's not like, oh, and your account is killed, right? Like that doesn't happen. So, clearly we're going to be bringing the commander back. Well, that trivializes death. Now, I suppose you could say, well, waypointing every time you die trivializes death anyway. I guess so, man. But not a fan of killing and bringing heroes back. Also, not a fan of fights that you specifically cannot win, which obviously that fight with Balthazar was. Um, I consider these cardinal sins of video game storytelling. Having said that, they're not uncommon in a lot of games, and I mean honestly, like the whole Elder Scrolls series is almost predicated on that, right? Like that's really how every Elder Scrolls begins: is the hero is coming back from some sort of thing, right? Usually not death, but symbolically not unlike that. So, but again, it's single player though, right? If you believe that makes a difference. Um, having said all that, they do a fair job of it here. I don't like it, but they do a fair job of it. So let's explore this experience.
I can give you a new life. You there! Come here! Over here! We can help each other. What is your name?
I don't even know who I am, or where I am, or how I got here.
You died. It happens. Welcome to the domain of the lost. I am, of course, King Palawa Joko.
King Joko. I'm sorry. I don't know that name.
Liar! All who take breath know me. I am King Joko the Inevitable, the last primeval king. Joko the Undying, the scourge of Vadi. Joko the feared, Joko the beloved, Joko the eternal monarch of all. How dare you claim to not know who I am?
But you're not a spirit. What are you doing here?
I was deceived by the fallen god Balthazar. I led him here to claim spirits for his army. In exchange, I was promised a share of his new recruits, but he betrayed me and stranded me here instead. Perfidy. From now on, the only god I trust is me.
You are no god. You are an abomination inflicted on the crystal desert like a wound, like a plague.
I am a god. God King of Eluna, the Crystal Desert and all their environs. Genuflect, peasant.
You have no authority here. Only the judge does. He was appointed by Gren, a true god.
Gods, dragons, nations. Soon all will grovel at the feet of Palawa Joko.
Come, gentle spirit. You must take the next steps. I've heard enough of Joko's blasphemies.
All right, we'll catch up with Nana here in a minute.
I'll wait here until you're ready to proceed.
Thank you, Nana. I appreciate that. For once, an NPC who's going to allow me to run my mouth. So finally, we meet Joko. Joko's a very interesting figure within the lore, and I think within the writing of the story, within the narrative and the dialogue, I think they do a pretty good job with Joko. Better than they do with many of their characters. Better than they do with Balthazar, for example. It's unfortunate that they don't, when all is said and done. Nana, you said you'd wait. When all is said and done, as we advance through the story, I feel like they did not do nearly enough with Joko. But just the same, we do enjoy a majority of what he does for the time we have him available. He does, like much of Guild Wars 2, get a little comic booky for my taste. When he is insidious, though, he is quite insidious, and the dialogue here really supports that, right? Everything from him talking about, kind of being the God King and being immortal, which is supported by the lore. Joko's been around for thousands of years, well before we encounter him in the first Guild Wars. And as you'll recall, the ghosts in the Tomb of the Primeval Kings had interactions with him and resent him for those interactions. So we're talking about an incredible amount of time, right, that Joko's been around. He's an undying lich. And his claims to godhood. So it's interesting that Nana over here says, you're not a god anything like Grenth. This is the domain of Grenth, which this is. This is part of Grenth's domain. This is a very specific part. We'll get more of that here in a minute. Grenth, like Cormyr, was a mortal who became a god by displacing Doom. And there's more of that lore in one of the raids. I haven't played through that raid. And I'm not going to speculate on the lore because I'm not super familiar with it. But at one point, Grenth was immortal. So, like Cormyr, kind of ascended into godhood. So we have two examples of mortals ascending into godhood. Surely an immortal lich could make that transition as well if a regular mortal can. So I wouldn't completely dismiss Joko's claims of immense power. He is, in fact, immensely powerful. And yet somehow was tricked into getting trapped here. He's in his little cell that apparently Balthazar put together. I mean, it's cool visually and everything. And you see he's got the same effect, that Balthazar chain magic that we see used on us at times, used on Arene, used on Vlast at one point. So here we have Palawa Joko. We'll get more opportunities to interact with Palawa Joko in this instance and in the story as we move forward. Again, not nearly as much as I would like. I think they could have done a lot more with him. And I don't like, when all is said and done, what they do and do not do with him. However, I do find him to be a likable character. His if his comic bookiness is a turnoff, it is of note that even in the first game, we had limited interaction with him in the first game, but we did have some interaction with him, and he was fairly comic booky in the first game as well. So, there's continuity there, whether we like it or not. But anyway, we'll come back to Joko. Let's figure out what we're doing here. We're dead, and we have no idea what's going on. We are completely confused, disoriented,
He is a loyal servant of God,
almost like amnesia.
charged with sending all the spirits who come through here to their appointed place.
This is like a lieutenant
I
of
don't know
Grenth.
who I am.
Keep in mind, Grenth is long gone, though. The gods bounced, right?
That's why you
Come, spirit. Do not be afraid.
Man, you're so loud. I am kind of afraid, actually. Okay.
I'm not sure why I'm here, or even who I am.
That's because most spirits find their own way to their fate when they die. But those whose deaths are too traumatic often forget who they were or how they perished.
These spirits, like you and me, end up here in the domain of the lost.
But I can't be here.
You will reach your rightful place in time. First, you must recover your name to know who you were and how you lived. Then, you must learn your purpose, to understand the choices you made and why you lived as you did. Once you know your name and purpose, only then can I determine your final destination.
But how do I do that?
Nana has traveled the path you now face. She can assist you. For though they may have belonged to you in life, once your name and purpose enter this domain, they are yours no longer. And you will have to fight to reclaim your name. Now, arm yourself.
All right. So, like I said,
So you've discovered your name? How do I reclaim mine?
I learned my name from the spirit of my old mentor, but only after besting him in a challenge of riddles. I discovered my purpose hidden in an old diary I had written as a child. I was a teacher.
Is it that simple?
It's different for everyone. The judge said you must fight to recover your name. So you clearly weren't the teacher. A soldier, perhaps?
I don't know.
Well, if you are to fight, you must first arm yourself.
With what?
Spirits must abandon their possessions before they may move on.
okay. So, as I stated, I don't love killing the. Well, I don't even like, not even a little bit, killing the player character and then bringing them back. I don't like, this whole thing in principle. But I do think they do a good job of it here. And I really like this idea of reclaiming your name, reclaiming your purpose. I do think that's a cool. Why do I have this person? There we go. I think it's a cool touch, and I enjoy it. So while I don't enjoy, from a narrative standpoint, what's happening in this instance, it's not a terrible instance. They do some cool stuff. All right, let's see if we can find our gear so that we're in a position to fight and reclaim our name in the first place. A lot of this in this area, like lost spirits, and we see that lost spirits are specifically lost in this realm instead of in their final resting place because they died traumatically, and there's trauma associated with this. And we recall that that's also what's associated with the ghosts of Ascalon, and it's a concept that we find repeatedly throughout Guild Wars 2, and of course it's based on a concept that's prevalent in humanity in general. The idea.
Around the area, and perhaps you will find something useful.
Thanks, Nina. The idea that traumatic or violent death is what breeds ghosts or spirits versus, you know, I guess a peaceful death. All right. I don't recall exactly where our gear is. It's somewhere over here in some of this stuff. No, that wasn't it. There we go.
That spirit looks just like me.
We should follow.
We should follow. So, presumably, remember, we don't have a name right now. There's our name, Tasha Aetherwatch. So, the name that we are out to reclaim, the fight that we must engage in to reclaim our name, is that it? We see they go red, so clearly that is, in fact, it.
I still don't remember.
Then more than one must have claimed your name, which means it must be a prestigious one. Quick, find another shadow.
No, still nothing.
Keep looking. If you don't reclaim your name quickly, you could lose it forever.
So I like this, that once we've defeated them, they change in form to whoever it was that was, claiming our name in the first place. Cool touch. Like I said, I think so many of the concepts that we have in this instance are really cool.
I remember now. My life was filled with conflict, victory, and loss. I was a leader, a commander.
I could tell. You wielded that weapon like a true fighter.
But I don't know why I fought, what I strove for, or against.
Next is your purpose. What drove you forward and ultimately led to your death? The answer is here, somewhere in the domain of the lost. You just have to find it.
But how will I know it? Where will I find it?
If you truly desire it, your purpose will find you.
Okay. Yeah, so I also like here that we see... Is this Priory armor? It's hard to tell with them all hunched over like that. And then we see here this is Vigil armor. I like that touch, After all, who would be more familiar with who and what we are than those who served with us? And the idea that in their weakness and their confusion as lost souls, they claimed that which they were familiar with or that which they admired. So I like it. It's a good touch. Okay, so we reclaimed our name. We got our gear back, so we're now in a position to fight. We've reclaimed our name. Next, we need to discover our purpose. Now, this can be a relatively quick thing, but if you take the time to soak up every little bit, then it's quite a bit longer. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take our time with this and watch everything play out. This is almost, it's not cinematic, but it's visual in nature.
It's not dead yet! Brace yourselves! I think it's gonna explode!
So basically, we get our the story of our life kind of played back for us.
Hero, I have summoned you to act as advocate of the crown. I want you to meet with the orders and take charge of the situation.
Going all the way back to the tutorial. That's what the first thing there was.
When Zaitan rose from slumber,
The dragon found a long-dead nation and claimed it.
Ah, we get to see Traherne again. What a guy. What a guy, Traherne.
The soul of Tyria mourned as her children were cut down by the beast. The land wept, and the world shuddered.
So right now we're like advancing through the core personal story. That was like level 50, I think, is about the time that we get that dialogue from the Pale Tree.
Now, that's changed, my friend. Thank you for being my legacy. Tell my tale of the Hearthfires, where the skulls sing of heroes.
So remember that from Lion's Arch, which actually I think takes place before the Pale Tree thing. But we're reminded of our mentor within the Order of the Pact.
Victory at Fort Trinity will show the world that we can strike against the dragons.
Okay, so now we're in Ore. Getting closer to Zaitan here.
Intruders, you trespass on the dragon's land. You will serve Zaitan.
I can't help but wonder if this was fairly labor intensive for the studio to recreate all this. Or if it was in fact quite easy because they were able to pull stuff they already had. I don't know.
We can destroy Zaitan before the dragon's infection claims us all.
Alright. Getting close. Getting close to the conclusion of Core story. Alright, so that was, if you may recall, that's the defeat of Zaitan.
We have succeeded, but only by coming together to fight a greater foe. You have shown the way.
You have my gratitude, Commander, for all you've done.
Alright, so that should be Core personal story wrapped up, if I remember correctly. We should be moving to Season 2 here.
Tonight,
Or Season 1, I'm sorry.
I stared into the abyss, and it stared back at me. So much power. I don't know what's real and what isn't anymore.
Of course, we remember Scarlet.
It's gone. All gone. And here, at the center, little old me. Aren't you even curious about why I did it? All this chaos and destruction?
Listen! Her shield drops when she attacks. Make it count. End this. Now!
Of course, that's right before we defeat Scarlet. It's like the last thing Casimir says before we engage Scarlet for the last time.
You fools! You think my death saves you? Too late.
Okay, so that represents Scarlet kind of being like a harbinger for Mortimer.
I have something I can no longer protect. You must understand its importance to Tyria's future.
Alright, rolling into Season 2. Oh yeah, Kaith. We're going to get reminded of what a piece of crap Kaith is.
There is a dragon egg.
I don't recall her ever actually saying that.
You're not leaving until you tell me the truth. Fowlin, is it necessary? We come from the jungle, dragon. We belong to it. We are meant to serve it.
With everything we had to deal with here, the Pact fleet may have already launched.
Alright, so that's pretty much setting the table to enter Heart of Thorns, right? The transition from Season 2 to Heart of Thorns.
We're a welcome sight, Commander. This situation is grim. Mortimer tore the fleet apart. The Pact is in ruins.
I don't trust Elvari. Neither should you.
Find it interesting that that little piece gets a reference during this little recap. Kind of an interesting thing.
Mother, look out! No! This offspring has chosen you. Channel this gift to get the egg to safety. Go. Confront Mordremoth. No matter how that mission ends, know that you have restored hope to Tarir and to the world.
So that's when we deposit the egg in Tarir. And then go to catch up with Timey via the little holodiscs. Oh,
You must kill me,
Churn.
Commander, before that seed grows, before Mordremoth reclaims what it has lost.
Wow. Wow, Chahern. Noisy death.
Our creator now lies vanquished. Where does that leave the Silvari? What is our place in this new world we've created?
Alright, so basically the end of Heart of Thorns.
Dragon's Watch. I like that. And Tyria would probably sleep more soundly with the Dragon Slayer at the helm of a new guild.
Indeed. Thanks, Raylock. Alright, so that's kind of the beginning of Season 3, but really they give very little attention to Season 3, some of it as we go up here, but for good reason, it was almost a waste of 18 months.
So only you get to decide when we take down a dragon? Only you are allowed to kill them? You know what, Commander? I'm glad you didn't join Destiny's Edge. My mother wouldn't want you in there.
Oh, Bram. Oh, Bram. Life's not easy, is it, buddy?
I laid down my life for. What should we call it?
Her name is Aurene.
Alright, so we actually speak here. So versus all the other scenes where we watch and like learn more about ourselves, apparently we have a speaking role in that one. But the commander did speak at that point, right?
I am the last Marsat. Many years ago, you knew me as Lazarus the Dire. I have returned from the brink of existence.
Alright, so we met Lazarus, only to learn.
But who would pose as Lazarus?
No, it can't be.
Yes. I like this. So that's a pretty cool touch, right? As we approach the realization, that we're dealing with Balthasar, the flames light up there.
The dragons will die, and fire will unchain all.
I remember. Balthazar. He wants revenge on the other gods. And he's going to use Aurene to get it. I have to convince the judge to send me back.
Okay, so I'd like to separate the fact that I don't necessarily... Why don't we get the achievement there? We watched everything. Anyway, separate the fact that I don't necessarily like all that storyline with the fact that I do like the way they take us back through it. I think it's cool. No falling damage in Land of the Lost. It's a very sad looking tree. This is a pretty cool environment they created. As they tend to do, right? It's definitely one of Arenanet's strengths. I know I talk a lot about like the things Arenanet does not do well. I'm pretty opinionated on that. But they always do this well. Like there are only a handful of maps that I don't think they did a good job in terms of like, and most of those would be core maps. As the game has gone on, their ability to create amazing environments has only gotten better and better.
spirits will be rewarded, noble spirit. Step forward, and I will see you to your final reward.
You must let me go back.
I see you clearly now, Commander. Balthazar killed you, but you would face him again? Balthazar has done great harm here. The magic he uses to hijack spirits shakes the foundations of the domain of the lost. But I cannot help you.
If I could only get back, if I could defeat him, it might undo the damage he's done in both our worlds.
It is too late. No life remains in your body. Unless, when Balthazar left, a fearsome beast, the Eater of Souls, rose to prey on the waning life energy of the spirits here.
That's got to be the screams I've heard in the distance.
If you were to defeat the beast and claim its power, that life energy might be strong enough to reanimate your body, allowing you to go back. But if you were to fail, the beast would consume your entirety. I could grant you no final reward or punishment. Your spirit would simply cease to be.
I'll take that risk. Now that I've rediscovered my purpose, I have to go back to finish what I started.
Then in Grent's name, conquer the Eater of Souls and live again. Remind Balthazar that none escape judgment.
Oh, because he's called the judge? Judgment? Yeah. Okay. So we have a task to complete, and if we complete it, then we get to go back. This, probably not the strongest point to this instance, but overall, again, if they're going to do a dumb thing, they should at least do it well, and I think for the most part they have. All right, we need CC. Oh, yeah. Are we going to give up stun break to gain CC? See, the problem is this takes way too long. It's good CC, but it takes way too long. The traps, probably not a good option. We already have that. Alright, let's keep our stun break then. We'll have 2, and then this takes a second to queue up as well. This has a little bit of a precast also, but it's massive CC. Some of these do crowd control. Some of these do too. I don't know why it doesn't reflect on the tooltips. Alright, well, we're going to try and roll with this. Oh, wait. Alright, so crowd control, super important for this. This can be really frustrating if you do it wrong. If you do it right, it's actually super easy. I would say there's a 50-50 chance on whether or not I'm going to do it right or do it wrong. Sometimes I struggle to get the timing down. Again, if you CC this guy correctly, man, this is an easy day. Did not do it correctly. So there's a real limited window there that you have available to you to properly put that crowd control down. And again, I took too long. We're actually probably going to die here now. Unless our pet can get us back up. But the problem is, it's going to take our pet so long to get us back up that he'll do his big attack again. And that'll probably finish us. So, you can see I'm just not using my crowd control nearly fast enough. You got to have it really like on, like on a twitch, like just super fast. Alright, let's see if we can do that this time. Man, we don't. We're going to have to really watch for the telegraph, because There we got it. You can see if you get it, he just melts. You just gotta get that crowd control.
But I bear no grudges, harbor no ill will. Release me now, and I will still honor the deal you foolishly rejected.
Your help is worthless. I found my own way back, and I'm off to succeed where you failed. By defeating Balthazar.
Good for you. Such pluck and self-delusion. Off you go, then. Of course, you are forgetting one crucial detail. Balthazar has an army. Do you have an army, little one? Well, I do. An army to rival that of the disgraced god. We both know you don't stand a chance without my awakened soldiers.
You may be right about that. I do need your army, but I don't need you.
What? No. My awakened are loyal to me. They'll never obey anyone but their beloved God King.
Really? Because in your absence, your army obeys the Mordant Crescent. I've seen it, and I can use it.
I warn you, do not leave me here. By royal decree, I forbid it.
Sorry, Your Majesty, but from what I've seen, your kingdom is better off without you.
All right. So are they all gone? Oh, they are all gone. So an interesting thing when we killed the Soul Eater or whatever it's called, and there was like that ripple effect that came out from it. We saw all these souls here like restored and stuff. Unfortunately, while we were listening to Joko, they all disappeared. I was looking forward to kind of taking a look at that. So there's Joko. We'll get a good look at him. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Cool. I like Joko. I do. I'm not like the one who's like memeing like praise Joko in like chat and stuff. I think it's really stupid. But I do as a character. As a character, I quite like him. Okay, so we're done here. Apparently, we can now come back to life. Not a fan, but it is what it is. As far as us imitating Joko or imitating the Morton Crescent to steal Joko's army, I like the idea. Unfortunately, the execution of it as we go forward in Pathfire is going to require us to suspend a little bit of disbelief. It's kind of clumsy in how it's executed, but it's a cool idea. I can dig it.
Back here, pathetic mortal. This is your last chance. I will return to reclaim my throne. And I will have my revenge on those who put me here, who left me here, and who dare take advantage of my absence. The torture. Oh, yes. I have plotted it out. I will just laugh as their wretched pleas for a longer life turn to desperate cries for a faster death.
So I wonder if people, when they play through this the very first time, if most players take those threats seriously or think that Joko is kind of a lot of hot air. We should take it seriously, but we'll find out more as we progress.
Get back.
Commander!
Is that?
Wait, what's going on there? You all said the commander was dead.
I was dead, Timey. But now I'm back.
Oh, great dialogue writing.
How dead works.
She makes a good point. We all checked, Commander, and you were very much no longer with us.
And she's still not. This is a trick.
Kaz, is this one of yours?
It's not an illusion.
Not me. I'm alive. I'm still the commander.
Hooker, if she's squishy, she's a mummy. If she's leathery, she's awakened. And if she's nothing, she's a ghost.
We're not going to poke the commander, Timey.
Listen! Balthazar has Aurene.
We know. He was taking herself toward Kralkatork when we arrived. We tried to stop him, but there were too many forged.
And I hate being the bearer of bad news, but it appears that Balthazar has managed to build up quite a formidable army of forged.
He does seem to make them faster than we can break them.
That's why we need an army of our own. And I met someone in the domain of the lost who told me where I can borrow one.
Borrow an army?
Domain of the lost?
Yay, we have a plan!
Kaz, have you got anything that can change our appearances?
Yes, but nothing that can make the four of us look like an army.
It doesn't have to. It just needs to disguise us as someone else, after I secure our cover story.
Okay, I'll be standing by.
And I'll be at the casino in Amnoon. If you can come back from the dead, I want to double my wager on you.
Fine. I'll get word to you all when the time is right.
Oh, hey, Commander. Good to have you back.
Ah, shucks, Ritlock. It's good to be back. Alright.
Another personal victory.
Let's keep moving forward. Interesting, you know, the dichotomy, which we get so often with Arenanet, where you know, you get like good ideas, bad execution, or good ideas mixed with bad ideas, and it's just you know, so often weird combination of like interesting things and like really juvenile stuff, and that's definitely how I feel about this. It's an interesting progression though from season 3, which is kind of like, you know, as bad as it gets, and then, you know, Pathfire isn't as bad as season 3. Season 4 has its moments, and I think it's because they used a similar model to season 3 when it came to their design philosophy of having like different people work on different things. And then everything gradually improves till we get to, you know, Icebreed Saga. And Icebreed Saga is notably better than Season 3 of Pathfire. So we're a ways away from that, though. So this marks the border of the territory that is truly... we're going to go ahead and go through the door, though, because I don't want to stick around. I don't like those... what are they called? The Canids? Man, those things are a real pain in the ass. Although if my pet's going to keep everyone occupied, we can kind of take a look for a second here. So we got this huge, like, bone wall thing. I think it's actually called the bone wall. And so past this point is 100% the region, whereas it's not a region that that Joko is exerting, like, limited influence on as he pushes Awakened into the area in an attempt to influence or control. On the other side of this wall here...
Citizens of the Bone Strand are experiencing a rise in suspicious activity lately. Can you help?
So all this area that we're going to be encountering now is 100% under Joko's control. So we've gone from kind of like a contested area, that being the Crystal Desert, you know, Elon Riverlands, or... Well, Crystal Desert encompasses like a majority of this, but was it Crystal Oasis or something like that? What's this one up here? Yeah, Crystal Oasis and Elon Riverlands. Now, with that wall right there, now we have entered like straight up Joko's Kingdom. And it's important to note because it's going to change the dynamics of like our interaction with the people that we meet and so forth.
How are you alive? Balthazar killed you. I watched from the shadows as you fell. We knew Balthazar was having you watched, but he struck before we could send a warning. What happened after you died?
In time, I'll tell you. Where I came to be. What I saw. How I escaped. Everything that happened since my death. But first, you must help me.
In exchange for that knowledge... Absolutely. Anything the Order can do. Name it.
I want to use Joko's army to stop Balthazar.
Commander, The Order of Shadows is powerful, accomplished, capable of near miracles. But we can't deliver an army of Awakened to you. No one, save Joko himself, can do that.
Archon Iberu could.
The Archon? I suppose Joko's marshals might follow the orders of the Archon, if those orders came from the king himself.
I have it on the best authority that they would.
But the Order has no sway with Archon Iberu. The last time we caught Joko's attention, he killed 30 of our agents.
I'll take care of Iberu. I just need to know where to find him and Joko's marshals.
I suppose Grand Vizier Uramishi in the Bone Palace to the south would know where the marshals are. As for the Archon, the fastest and safest way to engage him would be to lure him here. But he usually considers the area south of the wall unworthy of his attention.
If he thought the Sun Spears were rebelling down here, he'd have to come running to end the threat, right?
There aren't enough Sun Spears left to stage an uprising.
Only takes one, and they don't have to be a Sun Spear. A few attacks on Awakened camps, some conspicuously placed Sun Spear banners. That would look like a Sun Spear declaration of war no matter who was responsible.
It's risky. Very risky. Be careful, Commander. Your next death could be your last.
Alright, so what Shadow Agent Keto here doesn't mention is it's not just risky for the Commander. This doesn't play into the story at all. Don't worry. This what I'm about to say never manifests. Or at least not, well, it does much later, but only to a limited degree. It certainly doesn't during Pathfire. Our plan isn't just a threat to us. It's a threat to the actual Sun Spears, right? We're conducting this, this activity claiming to be a Sun Spear.
Here's a perfect
Who do we think's going to pay for that? The actual Sun Spears. Like I don't know that it's a great plan, but it is a plan. So here we go. The Commander's going to execute. We got to fill our green bars here. 2 green bars to fill. One with the Sun Spear banners. All that will take place right here in this old village. And then we got to go destroy 3 Sun Spear camps. Usually when you do this, there are enemies that pop up. Interesting that none have so far. Maybe up here. Alright, well, making it easy for me, I guess. There we go. Starting to wonder if all the Awakened have gone home. Alright, we should be getting close. Go grab this one over here. And we should be done giving the impression.
Looks like a rebellion's brewing.
Yes, that a rebellion is brewing. Okay. So I'm going to insert a quick video break here because there's still a lot more to do. That's why. So at this point, we have died at the hands of Balthazar. He killed us. But conveniently, we come back, and while in the Domain of the Lost, we met Joko, and from that interaction, we got an idea of how we might basically hijack Joko's army so that we are in a position to confront Balthazar's army. So when we come back, we will be continuing to try and lure Archon Iberu down here so that we can then kill him, and Casimir can put an illusion on us, and we'll take his place in an effort to claim Joko's army for our own. So that's where we'll pick it up when we come back in just a moment.